Hi, welcome to the Exit Plan Show. I'm Norman A. Hood, financial advisor and host. I interview America's top advisors, like today's guest, T. Ray Phillips, to help business owners enjoy more personal freedom, grow their companies faster, and transition ownership seamlessly when the time comes. Welcome to the show, T. Ray. You're with the Family Business Legacy Company. Can you take a second and just tell us about your company?
Yeah, I founded my company back about 1999 from getting out of school at DePauw in 91, getting into the health insurance marketplace. After a few years going into that, I recognized there was something missing with most of my clients, who were those in the rural family business markets outside of Indianapolis. And that was that a lot of their advisors that they had weren't advising them on a lot of things from a global perspective. And so I moved myself into the financial services industry, and then founded the firm to help specifically families in business who own a business and recognize one day they won't own it and they want to plan better for it.
Okay. And you and I are we're members of Business Enterprise Institute in Denver. Yeah. I heard you speak out there back in August, and then we connected here for the show. So I know you through BEI, but I don't know you that well. What would some of your friends that know you the best, how would they describe you?
I think even from a friend's as well as a client standpoint, they definitely would comfortably describe me as thorough. Sometimes overly thorough when it comes to client planning side of things, but very sincere, and willing to challenge them in areas that they haven't been challenged before in a way that true friends would allow one another to hold each other accountable.
Okay, good. So can you tell us a little more information about Family Business Legacy Company, what they do?
I think the best way and maybe the easiest way to describe it is knowing that our focus is working exclusively with families in business, limited to generally the industries of manufacturing, construction, distribution industries, less than 50 employees, under $30 million in revenue on most accounts. I would say we're specialists in working with family businesses in that aspect. Okay. What we strive to do is help them go through what we call in our business model the ownership legacy journey. As mentioned earlier, most owners that we come in contact with recognize while they're successful, and it may be years down the road before they make any transition, they do recognize that one day they will not only not run the business, but they will not own the business. And something has happened somewhere where they say, I'm worried that I'm not prepared for that. Whether it's a contingency event, or even if they are in their 60s or 70s and they want out, they're still not ready for that transition of whatever it looks like to them. Okay. And so our model was built around what are we doing to help the owners work better, candidly, with their advisors. Sometimes use their advisors more than they're already using them in the other disciplines of legal and tax matters and other planning matters, so that they actually can make a decision and proactively move forward and be ready for a sale, rather than waking up and recognizing they're not prepared at all.
Okay, good. So we know a little bit more about Family Business Legacy Company. What do you like the most about what you do there?
The most enjoyable part to me is working with what I call the backbone of America. Most every owner that I've worked with is, because we've had we define a kind of a pretty narrow space of which we will work with them. The industry type, the size of revenue, that type of thing. We're dealing with some of the most successful, the most important into their communities, but also some of the most humble. They definitely recognize that their blessings are a gift from God, and that what they have, they need to be stewarded. One of our mottos is how do we empower those that follow them, meaning them being the owners. So what I enjoy truly is working with those types of individuals. It's getting the chance to see what makes America, what's supported America, what's built it, and what will continue to be around going forward. Again, dealing with manufacturers and construction companies and distributors. I mean, these things are that make the economy truly work within the fabric of what's now America.
Okay. And you're not the only exit planning firm in Indianapolis. There's probably not that many firms that focus on the niche that you do, but of the other firms available, what do you think differentiates you from those?
Well, it's a good question, and while you're right, there aren't as many. I believe there should be more because there's a lot of companies that need this help. So hopefully, this whole dialogue helps more advisors dive into this. Not just me; I can't serve all of them. But when it comes to when we've been asked by a client to move forward with them versus some other firm that may be in the exit planning space. What we have continued to find is that the questions and the processes we take the clients through go a lot deeper than where they've gone before. We challenge them on, I call them aha moments. They say, wow, I've never been asked that question before. And sometimes they're really hard questions, but what they feed back to us, they say, that needs to be asked. I haven't thought about it that way. And all of a sudden, a paradigm has been breached. We go through the ceiling of complexity, and what was eventually had kept an owner stuck, they feel like, oh, now there's opportunities again. And so I think where we excel is helping an owner through that element.
Okay, good. What gets you up in the morning to do that every day? I can tell you're passionate about it, but is there one thing that you can talk about that?
I think the passion is there, and that generally is by itself what gets up. I get asked a lot, by my wife. They said, she says, T-Ray, do you really still love what you do? And I said, absolutely, I love what I do. And she wasn't doubting me. It's just, she always wonders, with what I'm doing. And so I say, absolutely, I do. And I tell you what is my food, and what feeds that passion to come back and continue on, despite working in some challenging client engagements because of, I sometimes face some tough ones. I have to tell them, I'm sorry, you have these things in mind, and they're going to be tough to achieve, or we may not get there. Or I'm dealing with somebody who's dying, and that's that's always that side of things. But what really is my food is when the client says, I feel now at peace. They've been stuck. They didn't know where to go, and all of a sudden, because of the things that we've done with them and helped other advisors, come along and bring ideas together and do it in a more concise fashion, in those engagements, so that the owner can go back doing what they do. The owner says, I love that I feel a breakthrough has occurred. And so when I see in theirs, it's all visual from them. You can tell on their side where they said they get it now. It's the aha moment for them, and that's my food, and to help that along.
Okay, so last question. A lot of business owners watch our show. You deal with a lot of family-owned businesses. If there was one tip you could give them to shortcut the transition, the exit planning process, what would that be?
Well, it's interesting that you used the word shortcut, because you and I both know there aren't many, if you will, and too many of them, want to do something in a time that may be unrealistic.
Right.
But if there is one thing that I think that is critical, and that it's helped us anyway with our clients, is helping an owner go to the end in mind first. So as we get into our engagement with them, we really want to help unleash the thought process and say, all right, if it's already occurred, if we've transitioned, what does it look like? Let's begin with that end in mind and have that, because one of the most difficult things to do is go down a plan. If we go up the success ladder, if you will, when an owner gets to the top of that ladder and realizes they've leaned the ladder against the wrong wall, that's probably the most unfortunate incident, and why so many business owners regret whatever their exit looks like, because they have not started with that end in mind. So I think for us and for most owners, having an advisor help them start with the end in mind, and that'll help flesh out a lot of options. It's going to not short circuit the process or shortcut it, but will actually make it much more fluid.
Okay, great. So that was T-Ray Phillips. If you want more information about T-Ray and about his company, you can go to our website, take a look at the show notes and you'll find a link to his website and his profile and more information. Thanks a lot for joining us.